All right, what's going on, everybody? Bitcoin roundtable here. We got Josh from WorkSave Bitcoin. I'm just going to add in our display names here. Dan from Through the Cracks Production, Ralph from Nurse Hodel, and John from My Favorite Thing About Bitcoin. And guys, you guys are really going to want to follow these guys' channels because I'm going to be taking the next few weeks off of this live stream. And one of these guys, we're not sure yet who, we're figuring that out behind the scenes a little bit. One of these guys will end up streaming and doing this live stream while I'm gone. And it won't be on this channel. So definitely go check out their channels. And I will post those links in the description after this live stream. So first thing on the docket this week, this actually came out today, a nice expose on strategy, on strategy investors, and how teeth are as scarce as Bitcoin, but not worth a few billion bucks. So let's bring this up. Just gonna add my screen here. And Gen Z BTC, what's up, man?
What's up? What's up, everybody?
We're just getting started here. We're talking about this article, or not article, video by Financial Times, which I don't know. Have you guys watched this? I thought it was actually all right. I didn't think it was the worst thing ever. I thought it was ridiculous at parts, but I did think they showed what strategy is doing to some degree a lot better than I think it's been represented by other mainstream news. But yeah, supposedly teeth are as valuable as Bitcoin, or because of their scarcity. So I kind of wanted to talk about that specifically, actually. Scarcity alone does not create value. So why is Bitcoin valuable beyond its scarcity? If one of you guys want to start that off.
I don't mind going first. First off, hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you're dropping comments. We do love that. And in terms of scarcity, first off, teeth aren't even actually scarce. You can artificially inflate teeth, right? Because you can have dentures, right? So technically there's an infinite amount of teeth. That's the first thing. And then secondly, just because something is, I guess, scarce, like if I draw a photo and there's only one of them, it really comes down to supply and demand. Right. People have a demand for Bitcoin because of what it does for us. Right. So if you understand what Bitcoin does, then that's where the scarcity and the demand meet to create something we've never seen before, which is a fixed asset and a nearly unlimited demand.
That's really well put. I like that extra added supply and demand, right? The scarcity alone is not enough. You have to have demand for whatever it is, and scarcity just makes it so that the value goes up because the variable of increasing the supply is limited in some way because of that scarcity. Commenter here says, when they were watching it, can your teeth be transmitted over the internet and recorded forever? So of course, so many things here with Bitcoin, but if anybody wants to jump on the next one here, what other aspect of Bitcoin gives it value beyond its scarcity?
Yeah, first, I love that comment. Can we go back to that? So can your teeth be transmitted over the internet? So what this guy is saying, and fantastic comment, is he's talking about one of the properties of Bitcoin, which makes it a better money than any other money. It has the ability to be to transport over the internet at the speed of light. And throughout history, that's been a very difficult thing for money to be able to do. When money started, it was a physical object. It doesn't matter if it was gold, silver, cowrie shells, whatever. People had to physically trade it, and people had to transport it by hand. When the invention of banking came along, what happened is banks decided they could store all of these hard assets in one specific location, and they can give out IOUs, which were more transportable. This made trade easier. It was an evolution in technology that really helped the entire world elevate to the next level. Eventually, people found out that when the banks had these hard assets, they were doing stuff with them, rehypothecating them, and the banks always got lost. And the people that were holding these hard assets in the bank went away or they lost all their money. With Bitcoin, it allows the bare asset of the individual Bitcoins themselves to be transportable over the internet at the speed of light in a way where you as the individual have full custody and take full responsibility over the Bitcoin. You don't need a bank to hold or help you transport that money, which is something that's very, very important in today's modern age. So really the way that I think about Bitcoin is the Bitcoin network is an entirely alternative financial system, and it has a bunch of different properties which a lot of people find valuable. We can talk about them. It's more transportable, it's fair, it doesn't let you be taken advantage of by the government or by other people, it puts you in control, and those are very, very valuable features that go way beyond scarcity. So why is Bitcoin valuable? Because it lets you be control over your money and your wealth.
Also, I didn't get a chance to watch this video yet. I had a pretty busy day. But talking about scarcity, there are over 300,000 babies born every single day. Each of those is gonna have 32 teeth. I mean, that alone, get that scarcity out of here. That's not a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys obviously have covered a lot of the big points, right? Like, I love this when people say this stuff. People have been saying this forever. Like, well, the hairs on my head are scarce. They're not worth anything. My kid does a drawing of a Power Ranger. There's only one of it in the world. Well, so it's scarce, but it's not worth anything. The fact that the Financial Times reporter doesn't understand this is still mind-boggling. But Dan, you and I think both did a takedown of the Everything Money guy, and one of his lines was, "I can take a dump in a bag, and it's the only bag of my feces, and it's scarce, but it's not valuable." And
Pause.
exactly. So, like you said, Gen Z, for something to have economic value, it has to be scarce and desirable. So, oxygen is the most valuable thing on Earth to all things that want to enjoy life, because I don't want to die, so I value oxygen, but it has no economic value because it's so abundant. It's desirable, but it's not scarce. So you have to have both, like you said, Gen Z, for something to be valuable. So then they don't understand, okay, well, the lady at the Financial Times clearly doesn't understand, why does Bitcoin have value? Of course, they understand that it's scarce, but when we talk about the scarcity of Bitcoin, the 21 million cap, we're talking about that because we already understand that it already fulfills the other properties of commodity money that make a good, useful as a commodity money. So we're focusing on the scarcity because that's the most important once you understand that it already has the other properties. Because then we say, oh, well, it competes with gold and all these other things on that 21 million fixed supply cap. But you have to first understand that money is a technology. And it turns out that for a good to fulfill the use of money as a technology, it has to have multiple properties. Namely, they are durable, portable, fungible, divisible, verifiable, and scarce. So if it fulfills the first five, then we quibble on the end of the scarcity piece of which asset is the harder asset out of the things that are already good at being money. But for some reason, people like the people who said just the scarcity piece, they can't understand the history of the commodity money piece of, well, what are the properties that make something good and useful as a commodity money in the first place? And then the scarcity is what will allow it to outcompete other assets in the free market of monies, because Bitcoin is harder to produce than gold. Gold was harder to produce than copper. Like that's what then makes things compete at the edge of the competition of free monies or of monetary goods in the free market, and the harder money will win over the long term. So sorry, that's such a long-winded thing, but this is like my favorite topic.
And I will just add, it's kind of embarrassing that Katie said that in that video. She's been reporting on Bitcoin and crypto at large for 7 years, and still, I don't know. It's almost like maybe she just said that for like other people to report on it and talk about it. I mean, we're talking about it right now. It's such a ridiculous thing to say, and such like a clearly does not understand what's actually going on. Maybe like, I don't know. It just, yeah. Anyway, Josh, do you have anything to add to that too?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest part is that to understand strategy, you need to understand Bitcoin, and it was clear that they didn't mention one thing about monetary debasement, or that the supply of money is constantly increasing. And that's why Bitcoin being scarce is good, is because there's constantly new money to flow into Bitcoin. And the way they describe it, Bitcoin's just like this random thing out in space that like people may or may not attach to, but they miss like the physics of money and why Bitcoin is better money.
Dan, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you think that she can't understand it, or do you think that she just doesn't want to understand it? Because at a certain point, anyone that puts an honest effort into like trying to understand Bitcoin, I don't think it's that hard to understand. I feel like for the people that still don't understand it after this length of time, there's something else going on. And maybe they are fundamentally aligned against Bitcoin for any number of reasons. And they just could be a number of things, but I was wondering what you guys thought about that.
I mean, maybe. So like it's clear that I actually think she doesn't understand it, because they did like an internal competition of trading, and the year prior, like 2024, she shorted it. Like not actually, but like they just did like a paper trading competition in between the coworkers, and she shorted MSTR, which is like absolute ridiculous idea in my opinion. And then it just went on a parabolic bull run, right? So it's just like would have tanked any other gains she would have had anywhere else. So I think she doesn't understand Bitcoin and doesn't understand MSTR, because you'd have to short it, I think.
I think so too. So Jesse Myers wrote a book on this. It's called like, or an article, long form article, but it's like why the yuppie elite dismiss Bitcoin. That, I think this is a case study in that, because I think that the part of the video of her talking about losing the paper trading competition, coming in almost dead last out of 1,300 people, and she's just chuckling, I was last. Oh, it's so funny. This is a magic internet coin that was invented in some weird guy's basement to her, and she's just like, oh, it's a Beanie Babies, and it's just gonna die at some point. Like clearly I know better because I work for Financial Times. Clearly all these people who bought into this thing are morons. It's the same as them buying, fart coin. Like to her, it's the same thing. I don't know her. I'm guessing, right? But to me, that's the yuppie elite thing of just dismissing it because I can't possibly be wrong about this thing. Like it's so stupid, and I'm so smart, and I must know better than all these dum-dums investing in this magic internet money. So she just won't pass the ego test, right? Bitcoin's an IQ test. If you pass the IQ test, you got to pass the ego test. She won't pass the ego test to just even look into it. She's just gonna like short it, and then when she loses the paper trading competition, chuckle, oh, I'll short it again next year. Like, but that betrays this arrogance of I won't look, peel one layer of the onion back and go, why was I wrong? What?
Yeah.
I was just wrong because it's a fluke. But they won't peel it back and say, why?
Yeah. Something's going on with your mic there, Josh, but you can chime in anytime now.
So weird. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. I gotta figure this out.
Sounds like an alien is beaming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brett. I don't know what's going on. I'm scared. But look, before we move on, last thing I'll say about this whole topic is that when someone presents a bar of gold to you, it is inherently valuable because you have to understand that so much work went into it, right? That's called proof of work, right? Bars of gold don't just spawn on the floor. This is not Minecraft, right? So when you see a bar of gold, someone had to get the equipment. They had to find out where the gold was. They had to dig it up. They had to refine it. They had to mine it. It was a lot of work, right? So it's inherently valuable, just not only because it's scarce, because there's a lot of work involved in making it, right? With Bitcoin, when someone presents a Bitcoin to you or says, I'm going to send you a Bitcoin, if you understand how Bitcoins are mined and you understand the amount of electricity that was involved, the energy, the time, the effort, all the hashing that was involved, that's proof of work, right? So you can verify that someone did a lot of work in order to produce that Bitcoin, the same way you can assume someone took a lot of work to make a bar of gold or to make a diamond. Even if it was grown in a lab, it's very hard to make a diamond. Like, can you make a lab grown diamond? I don't think so. So that's part of why these things have so much value.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. We can always circle back if we feel like there's more to share about that, but wanted to talk about this, guys, not the beef towel fries, but let's see this one here. Front page of Steak and Shake, and they've posted a couple times on their Twitter account. May 16th, 2025, all locations are going to accept Bitcoin. And they also have they showed a video as well of looked like maybe I don't know, I guess a bun brander
Yeah.
Bitcoin symbol. Yeah, so you could burn in the symbol.
Yes, that's pretty cool. I'm eating some Bitcoin burgers today, boy. What are y'all talking about? Come on.
Yeah, pretty sick. Is anybody going to go to Steak and Shake? I mean, I can't. They don't have any locations in Canada, but if I could, I would support this, because that's a huge story of medium of exchange narrative for Bitcoin, in my opinion.
So I have a question. Maybe they've said this in the articles or something, and maybe you guys know, because I don't. What is the motivation behind doing this, and what are they doing with the Bitcoin itself that they're getting? Reason why I'm asking is, from what I see, I don't see a very strong desire for people wanting to spend their Bitcoin, especially on hamburgers. Why spend Bitcoin when you can spend dollars, which are way less valuable? So I was just wondering what their motivation is, and if they've said it, and what they're expecting to get out of this.
They're just based. I mean, the intern that works at Steak and Shake that posts on their Twitter, they've been posting Bitcoin memes for a while, like spaceship with Steak and Shake and like Bitcoin. And they're a franchise business, but they also have a partnership franchise system. So all locations are going to accept Bitcoin. The franchise that own the vast majority of it, they kind of have to deal with it and figure it out, like if they're going to keep the Bitcoin or turn it back into cash or what. But the partnership franchisees, a lot of that goes to the company Steak and Shake itself. So I don't know. Maybe there's some people on there that want to save that Bitcoin. I mean, there's some understanding of what Bitcoin is at some level, for sure, by people at Steak and Shake. There's also this story. Adam, what's his name? Some Bitcoiner. He like called up a franchisee owner of Steak and Shake, and he posted about it. And he said the franchisee owner was not excited about accepting Bitcoin. And then he was like, posted the guy's details of like, phone up this franchisee and say, hey, we're excited to buy burgers with Bitcoin. And then the guy posted below and was like, I'm going to take you to court for posting my information. Anyway, it really blew up. But then an executive at Steak and Shake phoned the Bitcoiner, or got in contact with them and said, apologized for it, and said, hey, we want to accept Bitcoin. We're all for this. Like, sorry, this guy is now doxing you, because the franchise owner then doxed the Bitcoiner. Yeah. Anyway, all the tweets are deleted. Otherwise, I would bring this up and show it. But this was a big story that happened yesterday. But it seems like the executive, right, knew about the Bitcoin thing, was hyped on the Bitcoin. It's coming from the top down, definitely, with this. So hopefully the franchisees get on board. And yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, if they're holding the Bitcoin, then this could be a true accretive Bitcoin per share type company. Without taking any extra leverage. So this would immediately put Steak and Shake as the top stock I would want to own out of all the Bitcoin accretive companies.
Forrest, I think you basically, that's the answer, is that they're based. I think the cynical version is like, it's a marketing ploy, like just to attract crypto native customers, Bitcoiners as customers, right? Like we've talked about this on other streams, right? Where anytime someone does this in an industry and you're the first one, you're gonna kind of get a Bitcoin bump because we're talking about them, and we're gonna go, try to find a Steak and Shake, drive 500 miles to buy a burger there, right? So the cynical view is it could just be a marketing ploy, but to actually roll it out to like 500 or whatever, how many locations, roll out the Bitcoin payments piece, I don't think that's just a LARP. Like, you wouldn't do that if you were just trying to like get a bump and like accept a few people coming in to buy a few more burgers. So like, there's got to be the CEO or somebody driving it who like actually has some conviction in it, and that's what it seems like. And it's dope in that way, because they don't have to do this, right? Like, it's pretty cool that they're coming on the forefront of like trying to Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, right? Like pretty soon there'll be like a nationwide coffee place that's accepting Bitcoin, and then slowly we're knocking out these FUD things, right? Like, oh, the government's going to ban Bitcoin. Well, we knock that one down. You can't buy Starbucks with Bitcoin. You know, I can't buy coffee down the street with Bitcoin. Well, we're gonna knock that one down. I can't buy burgers with Bitcoin. Oh, now you can, right? Like we're slowly knocking these pieces of FUD down. It's cool that they're kind of like on the forefront of that.
So over under, what do you think is a percentage, or what do you think is the chances that they'll have at least 1% of their sales in Bitcoin, you know, over the next like 3 years, let's say? Or
I think it'll be pretty low. Yeah.
Under that for sure.
Yeah,
really quick, I'm sorry. I do have to go. You know,
Okay.
there's some kid in the chat. He's waiting for me at Applebee's, right? He keeps talking about it. Anyways, this guy's an idiot. Long story short, we're about to actually have a competition at Applebee's. We've both created a Bitcoin quiz for each other, and whoever gets more questions wrong has to pay for each other's food. So I'm getting free food right now. This guy's an idiot. He thinks that he knows more about Bitcoin than I do. Like literally, I wrote the protocol, bro. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. And stack sats or die trying. Thank you.
Go win yourself some food.
Yes,
yeah, thanks for coming.
Easy money.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say about the tweet. That was super interesting. Like the guy contacting the business, and I feel like it just shows you how self-destructive anti-Bitcoiners are, because it's for their good, but like the guy was just saying like, I'm really excited to come to your restaurant and use Bitcoin. Like it's going to bring a lot of business. I'm going to bring all these people. And the franchisee was just like, no, I don't want you here. Like I hate Bitcoin basically. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up a tweet here if anybody else has anything else to add in the meantime.
Also, do you guys think like in like another like 4 to 5 years, like their burgers are probably gonna become like cheaper over time, which is probably gonna be our first case of like a deflationary burger in America, right?
If
Do you guys think that's
absolutely?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if they keep, yeah, exactly. Do you think that that's a big deal? That's gonna make people question, oh, maybe I should like look into this more.
They should put the Bitcoin they should put the price in Bitcoin on the menu. Then the price will drop. That would be sick. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Put the price in Bitcoin, and then definitely the prices will come down.
Exactly.
Because everything is deflationary in Bitcoin terms.
And then people can't say it's not a unit of account anymore. We'll say, well, it's right there. It's Steak and Shake.
Yeah. I support George's right to not want his Steak and Shake crawling with orange cells. That's a meme there.
Are we orange cells? Bitcoiners
we're
are
orange cells.
I haven't heard that one yet.
I was confused too. I had never heard the term orange cell before.
I haven't either. I think he made it up. But I thought it was funny.
I'm surprised that he's the first to make that. That's a good one.
It is a good one. Yeah, the Bugle creates good stuff. I don't know if you follow those guys. It's like Bitcoin's version of the Onion on Twitter.
Right.
All right, so yeah, I don't know. Are any of you guys going to check it out? Pay for some Bitcoin? I mean, for me, I think the most interesting thing. Well, the whole story is interesting, but I'd be curious to know how they're going to accept Bitcoin. Are they holding it in their own Lightning wallet they've built? Is it custodial for the owners? Is it just Speed Wallet? Is it Wallet of Satoshi? Or I guess you guys don't have Wallet of Satoshi anymore. Like, yeah, I'd be curious to know what their payment system is going to be like for Bitcoin, and how that's going to work for employees too. Like, it's got to be really, really easy, right? And Bitcoin is not, it can be easy, but it's not typically super, super easy.
I'll tell you what, there's a Steak and Shake right down the street from me. When you come back from your little hiatus, I will have a report of how it works. I will go and spend Bitcoin just to inform everyone. Maybe I'll make a little video about it or something.
Yeah, we should go together, Dan, and vlog it for sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Got to do it on Friday, the first day, man.
Yeah, first
What's
day.
that?
You got to do it on Friday. Do it day one. You got to camp out overnight.
Yeah, wear a big Bitcoin hat and go full in.
Yeah, that'd be funny. All the workers show up to work and we're just like camped out there.
Yeah,
Josh, I feel like if we go to Steak and Shake, I'm curious if the workers will even like know what to do, like how to accept it.
They have to.
It's part of their business, I think. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's what I'm curious about.
Big bummer if they make you wait for confirmations. They're like, here's your burger, but you can't have it till another block gets mined.
It's
Or
only
like-
on chain.
I haven't seen. I looked it up. They haven't said whether or not they're accepting Lightning. They have to.
It's
You
gotta
would think
be.
they must, but
It's gotta
they
be.
haven't said it. Yeah.
Because that would be terrible, you know, dealing with that many UTXOs for a freaking hamburger. What is it? The Frisco melt? That's I think what they serve there.
Yeah,
I haven't
true.
been
The
to a Steak and
UTXOs would
Shake
be
in like
small.
20 years, so.
Yeah,
But I'm going on
UTXOs would be
Friday.
small. They'd be consolidating them every week. It would be a nightmare. So yeah, places, we had a lot more adoption in the earlier days, like percentage wise for Bitcoin, but it's just doing broadcast transactions for every single thing is really inefficient and the UTXO and everything. It's like, yeah, we needed to scale. So Lightning's here. Lightning works. The routing is, works very efficiently, very fast, doesn't crash like it used to either. And it's like, yeah, we're ready for this, I think.
Do you do a lot of Lightning payments, Forrest?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Just like for tips and stuff, or?
Yeah, just like Noster and mostly Noster. Whenever I've used Bitcoin in person and stuff too, it's been Lightning. Actually, I did one in Tofino once. They had my Lightning wallet didn't work or something. It was buggy on Aqua, and I sent an on-chain, and they were just like, "It's fine, you've sent it, you can leave." They didn't wait for it to confirm, kind of thing. But we're actively orange pilling the Valley here. So you guys are going to start hearing about Bitcoin Valley. This is right here in this town. The person I'm working with just orange pilled a yoga studio yesterday and a food truck today. And they're both accept Bitcoin. It's going to be wild. We're going to have so many businesses here accepting Bitcoin very soon.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
We'll call it Orange Valley or Orange Cell Valley pretty soon.
Orange Cell Valley, yeah. All right, well, let's go to this next one here. I don't know if you guys heard about this new Bitcoin treasury company. Kindly is the company. It's going to be turned into Nakamoto by David Bailey and the Bitcoin Magazine team. He went on this call and talked about how they're going to do whatever they can to increase Bitcoin per share. That's their main metric. If they have a positive MNAV, they're going to sell shares and buy Bitcoin. If they have a negative NAV, they're going to sell Bitcoin and buy their shares. And he got a lot of feedback by people. And I even jumped in the arena here with Gladiator, me and him, explaining why that is a terrible idea and how you're basically not instilling confidence in your stock by doing that. Would love to hear from you guys. I think we've maybe reached the crescendo of interest in these new generic strategy copies. I think they have to start being really unique, be in a unique market, like even what Dan said, maybe they have to have a profitable business that then starts buying Bitcoin. Maybe that's, just then it becomes almost regular investing, but it's Bitcoin denominated, right? What do you guys think about this situation here with old David Bailey of Bitcoin Magazine?
I mean, he's the successor of Vitalik Buterin, right? Who was in charge of Bitcoin Magazine before him.
Correct.
Yeah, so I don't know. The whole Bitcoin Magazine doesn't really throw a lot of confidence my way. They were also in charge of the wizards. I forget what you call them.
Yeah, the ordinals and the taproot wizards and stuff. Yeah, they had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I don't want to throw too much shade, but I'm staying away. I mean,
We
I would
know you
stay
do.
away if it wasn't them, but I'm especially staying away because it is them.
Yeah, and I'll just show another tweet here. That's their stock. And I said, what do you call this chart pattern? This was announcement. They were at $10 before, or just slightly under 10. They rocked it up to 30. And then this is like the hourly chart. So within 2 days, they went back to 10. I think a lot of people were not that excited.
Really quick. That chart reminds me of a really condensed version of Ethereum since it went to Ethereum 2.0.
Yeah, after the merge, pre-merge. Yeah.
That is pretty. I hadn't seen that chart. That's pretty funny that all the other ones that have announced this have just gone to the moon, and there's just tank. I mean, Dan, I'm with you. Like, I'm not trying to like, throw too much shade or whatever. If anyone who doesn't know, just because it's called Bitcoin Magazine does not mean it's Bitcoin only. Matt Crowder from Bitcoin University has covered this extensively. You can either look at, they sponsor the main conference, the one that's in Vegas this year. You can look at who's invited to the conference. You can look at the David Bailey's other company, which is UTXO Management, the portfolio of things that they invest in, like you said, like Taproot Wizards and Ordinal Bots and all these other things. So just because it's called Bitcoin Magazine does not mean it's Bitcoin only. If anyone didn't know that, just make sure you understand that, because yeah, they wade into a lot of other things that I think the people on this call would not be huge fans of. And like you said, Joe Burnett and some other people gave him like more technical answers to his question in that tweet. But for like what you, Forrest and Gladiator said was my answer, which was like, you just clearly don't understand that. Basically, I was under the impression that the whole entire point, to some degree with strategy, is that they're not selling the Bitcoin. Like if they were to ever change that, the whole entire thing, doesn't all the confidence unwind immediately to some degree? Like, to me, the risk is like of strategy is not that like they're going to go under or whatever. It's like a bigger risk would be if for some reason they had to sell some small portion of Bitcoin to cover some, debts or some dividend payments or something in the future. That's the last thing they would want to do, because that would undermine the confidence in the whole entire strategy. They buy the Bitcoin, they hold the Bitcoin. Everything that's built on top of strategy is on the premise of they don't sell the Bitcoin. So the fact that David Bailey just like completely just totally missed that one point. It's like, oh, we're just gonna buy it, sell, buy, sell, buy it, sell. Like, you're forced, like you said, I guess maybe he's looking for a differentiator to make him different, but that's a differentiator that's not gonna inspire confidence in anybody.
He's a
opinion.
Bitcoin trading company.
How do they come back from that? That's just what can you say? It's like it's too
I don't
late
think
now.
you can say anything. I think they've already shown who they are very clearly, and
yeah, I mean, maybe they could get trust back in the market in some way and just execute and do well with what their strategy is, which is opening up, basically owning parts of companies in different markets and turning their treasuries into Bitcoin and then levering them up. I mean, that's not a terrible idea. It could work. Like Metaplanet's had a huge amount of success because of the market they're in specifically, and they've been able to compete against much larger entities in America that have run a similar playbook because they're in a different market that does differentiate them. But I think it just shows like lack of understanding from his part of like what he's even getting involved in. Like, I don't think he really gets it. Like, he could have said, like, if our MNAV is under, we'll consider buying back shares, but we'll do that with taking on debt, because that's still accretive to Bitcoin per share, which is our main metric. But just talking about selling Bitcoin is just like, that's such a clear thing of like, it just so doesn't make sense when you're thinking about who your investor base is going to be and why MSTR has been successful. And the reason they've been successful is because they've been very absolute with their strategy, and they've been very transparent and very clear and very stable doing it. If there's any sort of instability with this, it just creates massive amounts of risk, and then you're better off not investing because the risk reward ratio goes out of whack and you just hold spot Bitcoin. So again, yeah, I mean, when I saw this, I was like, I'm glad I got fatigued out of buying Bitcoin treasury companies, because I was, dabbling here and there. And I was just like, I started feeling like a shitcoiner. I was like, I'm just buying all these things, and it makes me feel a little kind of gross. Like, oh, I'm just trying to, like, I just want Bitcoin, And then luckily it was like, okay, I bought into CEP a little bit. I bought a little bit of asset, and then this one comes out and I'm really, already skeptical a little bit of the people behind it. And I was just like, I'm not touching that thing. And then this came out and I was like, whoo, I'm glad. So yeah, I don't know. I hope they recover. I hope they do well for their investors and the people that are already in. I hope they orange pill a bunch of businesses around the world and acquire Bitcoin. And I hope they don't blow up from doing so. But as of now, their story is a little tainted, I would say.
Well said.
Yeah, and I just don't know how they can say, like, for certain that like they're gonna outperform MSTR and get more Bitcoin than them. Like you just have no clue. Like, do we even know there's 550,000 Bitcoin left to like be purchased right now? Like there's just no way to predict that, like a metric like that.
Yeah, and that metric is crazy because that's like, what does that end up being, like 60 or 70 billion dollars or something? It's quite a lot anyway, but it's like the acquisition cost of that is way higher because if they start trying to actually like seriously put money down and buy that amount of Bitcoin, it's going to drive the price up really rapidly. Depending on their strategy, if they take a long time to do it, the price is going to go up because there's this bid from everyone else as well. But if they do it in a short time, there's going to be too much of a bid from them and not enough supply coming out to market. So either way, the acquisition cost is way higher than what Bitcoin is today if they were trying to match the actual amount of Bitcoin that strategy has. So it just doesn't really make any sense. I mean, Jack Mallers has also said that about CEP or 21 Capital. He's also said we're going to try to get more Bitcoin than strategy. And it's like, bro, I don't think you understand. I don't know. I think they do understand. I think they're saying that because it's marketing and that like they want to instill a lot of confidence and, you know, get investors and stuff because their whole business or vast majority of their business is getting investors and pushing up their MNAV. But, you know, I just think that no one is going to reach strategy. I think it would be tough for a Meg 7 company to reach strategy at this point in holdings.
If anything, it just kind of shows Michael Saylor's genius for starting this type of company when he did. It was really, you know, he was years ahead of the game. And when you're a few years ahead in Bitcoin, you win by a lot. So I think,
good point.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, the only thing I would add basically is like the fact that MST or well, the fact that he says he thinks, oh, we're gonna sell some of the Bitcoin and buy back shares or whatever. The whole plan around that is going to cause so much controversy because even if they're like successful with it, basically you already see people questioning MSTR like when they issue at the ATM, when they sell shares, it's dilutive, but it's accretive, all these things, and people get mad about that. If you were to watch when they choose to sell, buy more shares, like the fact that they think they could just do that and have investors not be like freaking out every time they do that and questioning, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it at that price? Why'd you do it that much? Like it's just going to cause so much, you know, like volatility and questioning and risk and doubt that there's just no way you could grow the confidence, in my opinion, with that strategy. Because people are like, oh, well, you just sold more, I'm out of here. You know, like it's just not built on a solid foundation of the, like we said, the MSTR, the basis. We're not selling the Bitcoin. Everything else is built on top of that. You can question the other stuff. That one piece doesn't change.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So that's old David Bailey. Let's get on to probably what I would consider I mean, there's been a lot of in this week's news report, the Bitcoin Roundtable, there's been a few bad takes. I would say selling your Bitcoin as a Bitcoin treasury company is one of them. Teeth are scarce, so they're valuable is another. And I would say this one is up there as well. Jim Chanos, he's an investor, part of a hedge fund. He famously shorted Tesla right before Tesla went on a massive bull run. And I think, I mean, he must have closed his position or lost a ton of money. Basically, he's doing the ARB bet that people were doing last year to some degree and failing at, unless they got out at the right time. But he's betting on Bitcoin and against strategy. So essentially buying Bitcoin and shorting strategy. And he believes that this is basically buying something for $1 and selling it for $2.50. So $2.50 being the premium on strategy compared to Bitcoin. I think I'll just say, I think that shorting any Bitcoin treasury, I wouldn't even short Kindly. I don't believe in that Bitcoin treasury. I wouldn't even short that. I think shorting anything Bitcoin related is a terrible idea in general, even if you hold the underlying Bitcoin. So yeah, what do you guys think about this?
I'll take the opposite take.
Okay.
Yeah. If what he's doing is he's borrowing, or if he's shorting MicroStrategy, but he's buying Bitcoin and basically borrowing Bitcoin, giving back whatever, how that works. He's basically saying if the MNAV of MicroStrategy goes down, he wins, right? So the dollar price in Bitcoin or the dollar price in MicroStrategy can still skyrocket, if I'm understanding what he's doing correctly. And with his short, he would still win. Is that correct?
If the share price of Strategy went up because of only because of the underlying Bitcoin also went up, then
let me rephrase that. If he's putting himself in a position where if the dollar price of MicroStrategy goes up, but the MNAV goes down, he wins. I think that he can win on that bet.
Yeah, I just I didn't mean to show that. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I just think when you're shorting something, timing is everything, and you have to be extremely quick. And is Strategy's MNAV going to compress right now as he's opened up a short? That's the
short
real
term,
question.
I have no idea. Like short term, the market is volatile. I never trust the market in the short term, but I don't think it's as dumb as shorting MicroStrategy and holding dollars would be.
I understand. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. He is holding the underlying Bitcoin. I just think again, Strategy is likely going to expand its MNAV if Bitcoin goes up, and if Bitcoin goes down, will Strategy go down further than Bitcoin while he's holding it? I mean, that again, I don't know, because Strategy could buy Bitcoin at that time. Like, it's just not a 1 to 2 kind of thing. I don't know. I think it's really risky. I think it's insanely risky.
Let me rephrase this. I wouldn't make that bet. I don't
Yeah.
short anything. I've never shorted anything in my life. I do think the value of MicroStrategy in dollar terms is going to skyrocket, specifically because of the underlying asset that they have, Bitcoin, is going to skyrocket. I think that over the long term, my assumption is, and I don't even know what the MNAV of MicroStrategy is now, but I think over the long term, it's 2. I think over the long term, it's going to be a lot closer to 1. Over the long term. I don't know if long term is 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Short term, anyone's guess. I could be 100% wrong, and MicroStrategy could have an MNAV of 3 or 4 by this time next year, and I wouldn't totally be surprised.
Josh, you had something to say there?
Yeah, but like I think then you're underestimating the power that having 550,000 Bitcoin is going to give them to, like, they're not going to be a software company forever, right? But they're going to have the most of the best capital in the world to pursue whatever they want. So like I think the MNAV is going to go much higher than 2 because of the potential that having the best capital in the world gives you.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fundamental disagreement. That's totally cool that we disagree, and I'm very happy being wrong here. I just don't see it. But like I said, I'm not staking my reputation on this one, I don't think. It's just my intuition. I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not shorting anything.
Yeah, I've never shorted anything ever, but I think it's dumb, and I think it's gonna lose a lot of money. So, hey.
I think he's going to lose a lot of money too, and I think MNAV is going to expand. I think there's a lot of reasons for MNAV to expand on Strategy specifically, not just the fact that they hold a lot of Bitcoin, which is a good point that Josh had, but there's other reasons too. S&P 500 inclusion coming up is another one. A lot of passive buyers, a lot of people value securities over other assets like commodities or ETFs. Like thinking that it's going to trend towards one is thinking that it's going to become more and more ETF like, which I think is not the case. I think that they're going to continue to be able to add more Bitcoin over time, and the market will recognize that they're doing that. I feel like still people have not recognized that. So yeah. Anyway,
yeah, I'm too much of a dum-dum to understand how he's going to make money holding the thing on the underlying, thinking that's going to go up, and then shorting the leverage thing on top of that. That's also going to go up when the underlying thing goes up. I just don't understand how you can make money doing that. But you can also maybe do this trade once in the short term, make money, close it, and then never do it again. And we're just left with this quote where we think he's all doing it in perpetuity for the next 5 years, and maybe he does it once, makes $5 and closes it. Like, you never know. So,
So really quick question. What was MicroStrategy's peak MNAV?
I think they had like in November, maybe like 4 something.
So if he would have done this bet in November, he would have doubled his money.
Yeah, which is what Citadel did, or Citrion, or one of those ones. And yeah, they opened up a short. And the other thing too is like that's right when the ATM issuance came out. So basically, the ATM provides cover for shorts. It's not the greatest situation. Like you might want to let it run and wreck shorts, and then that would add capital back in. So there is some degree, like there is some things that make sense about this, right? If you're looking at a specific area of MNAV contraction, but the MNAV is about as low as it's going to get, in my opinion. I don't think the MSTR MNAV is going to get much lower currently. I think it's inbound for another expansion, actually. So I think the timing of this is off. And yeah, he might close it or whatever, but yeah, I just think the timing is off.
So can we agree that the market is going to eventually settle on some sort of MNAV, whether that's slightly less than 1, 2, 4, 10, it doesn't matter. The market will eventually settle on some sort of MNAV, right?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, it's going to fluctuate. It's going to fluctuate because it's a company that's changing all the time. Like, why would it settle on anything? I mean, I don't really believe in like the efficient market hypothesis. Like the market is always debating what something is worth into the future based on growth.
All right. Well, I mean, if we can't settle on that, then I got nothing else to say. It'll be really interesting. I mean, if he would have done this bet a couple months ago, he would have made a lot of money. Now, maybe he'll lose money. Maybe he'll make money. I have no idea. I just personally, I don't think it's quite as dumb. I think it's a gamble. I think it's like putting your money on a roulette wheel. Because
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, if it goes up to back to 4, I could totally see that happening. If it goes down to 1, I could totally see that happening too. In the short term. Yeah,
and in the short term, yeah, you are just making a bet, which is what that guy does, but he's famously made terrible bets as well. This is from their presenter earnings presentation a couple weeks ago. This is why MSTR believes they should trade at a multiple. They have all these reasons. I actually made a video detailing and expanding on each one of these as well. We're not going to go over these right now, but there is quite a lot of reasons that this will never, in my opinion, trade back to a 1. If it did, it would be an unbelievable buy. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Let's get on to some questions here, as we only have another 12 minutes. All right. Back to this one. We need Bitcoin for a future post-scarcity society. Eventually, we'll mine asteroids and precious metals won't be so precious anymore. What do you guys think? Do you think we'll start mining asteroids?
I saw there was also a story. I don't know the exact science behind it, but didn't people say that like scientists were able to turn another metal into gold for like a split second? So if that ever gets cracked too, gold is gone.
Yeah, it's cooked. I think Ralph, you were sharing something about that, were you not?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the full details about that, but I saw that story. I was like, oh, wow, that's actually amazing. And I was looking it up, and I guess it is actually possible. So, I mean, but it's not. I think the cost of doing that, they probably can't do it as like on a huge scale, and all that. So it's, it's not something that's going to happen, tomorrow or anything. But with the use of AI, maybe, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So, hey, man, all the gold buds out there, sheesh. I don't know, man.
Yeah. No one can alter the atomic breakdown of another element and turn it into Bitcoin. So
that is true. That is true. This one was a comment connected to our Steak and Shake here, and they said they don't understand the thesis. Why would I pay with BTC and incur capital gains? In my opinion, it's to continue adoption happening. When you spend your Bitcoin, you're sharing it with somebody else. You're connecting the network, making the Bitcoin spread out. The capital gains is, in my opinion, a way for the government to suppress that massive use case of Bitcoin. In America, you should probably learn about the tax, the ability to spend specific UTXOs, so you can actually select and spend certain UTXOs and be taxed on when you bought them and when you sold them, as opposed to, if you don't do that, it's just first in, first out, which means you're going to be taxed on the first and your oldest purchase of Bitcoin. So if you were taxed at a specific UTXO, you could buy it that same day, spend it, and the difference in the price doesn't fluctuate that much during the day. And as long as you keep track of that, your capital gains would be negligible. So that would be my answer to that. If anybody else wanted to have anything else before we move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's marketing to a big degree. I think Forrest or John, I think one of you guys said it, but I mean, now Josh and I, we're gonna go to Steak and Shake and do it. So maybe that's the real reason they're getting some extra business.
Yeah, like Jack Mallers says, like, all capital gains means is that you beat out monetary debasement. So like, you're not being penalized for using it, but you are just paying capital gain on the margin by which you escaped monetary debasement, which sucks, but you're still escaping monetary debasement just by a slightly lower margin.
Yeah, and if you're spending fiat, it means you have fiat. It means you're short Bitcoin. So you could think of it as opportunity cost of not of being able to hold Bitcoin for longer if you have Bitcoin to spend instead of fiat. But I know the volatility doesn't really totally make sense with that yet, but you could think about it that way. All right, we got one more question, a couple more questions actually. I know a little bit about Caspa. I'm happy to talk about it. I don't know if you guys know about this. This is an altcoin that it's very popular. It has a small market cap, but it's very popular and it's very much compared to Bitcoin because it has proof of work. But they claim to have solved the trilemma of decentralization, security, and speed. That's so Amagale says, if you truly understand proof of work and the Bitcoin origin story, then you have to research Caspa, proof of work, the fastest open source, decentralized, and fully scalable layer 1 in the world. So they don't use a blockchain. They use something called a block DAG, which DAG stands for something that I can't remember, which basically it doesn't orphan blocks. They originally had one block per second. And if the miners block or mined a block at the same time, they would just keep including it, and they would have all these connections and have parent blocks and child blocks basically, and they wouldn't orphan blocks like how Bitcoin does if chains can't decide on a chain temporarily until they pick the longest one. So that's how they can be faster without having a discrepancy of what chain to follow and what is the actual blockchain. And they went up to 10 blocks per second just recently. They have a different hashing algorithm that they use. They have literally 1% of the hash rate that is the amount of hash rate going towards Bitcoin. So to say it's as decentralized and as secure as Bitcoin is hilarious, because it is not, because there's a fraction of the amount of hash rate going towards it. So it'd be way easier to 51 attack. There's also a living founder who is, and there's a lot of people involved in this that basically have like a bully pulpit where they can make decisions. Like that's the other thing too, that people don't understand about this space, is that Bitcoin is very secure because it's very, very hard to change. It's incredibly difficult to change. I literally just said they went from 1 block a second to 10 blocks a second. Now that could have totally broken this system. And if you have your life savings in this system that of cryptocurrency, and they just decide to change something because they think it's a good idea, so to have more transactions or smart contracts or whatever, like they're doing all of that on Caspa. That you don't want that change to be happening with what you're securing your wealth with for generations to come. You want it to be so secure and know what it'll be into the future, and not have all these vulnerabilities that could happen. Just because it has worked doesn't mean it will work into the future. Caspa is incredibly new. And the other thing I'll just finish with saying here is, if any of the technology and code that works in Caspa actually works after a while, they could just implement it in Bitcoin at some degree in some point or some layer. And that comes back to the Andreas Antonopoulos quote, which is, the next Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's not Caspa. So I don't know if any of you guys want to elaborate on any of that.
Yeah, I love how you finished it. Or you want to go, John?
No, go ahead. Good.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I made an entire video about this. It was reacting to an Andreas, I think that exact Andreas Antonopoulos talk. But Bitcoin already has the network effects. If this, I don't know the first thing about Caspa, by the way. I haven't cared to look into it, and I probably won't look into it. I don't think it's probably worth my time. But at the end of the day, if it's occupying the same space as Bitcoin, basically, if it's trying to be the base money of the world, it's going to lose just on network effect alone. The only way something can go and overtake Bitcoin is if Bitcoin fails. Bitcoin has to fundamentally break. And if Bitcoin breaks, then we know that there's this giant market for money that isn't issued by the state and that could be transported around the world as at the speed of light, and that could be fully self-custodial. If Bitcoin breaks, then maybe Caspa has a chance, if it's legit, which it's probably not legit at all. But just assuming that it is legit and assuming that it does all these things, which it really definitely doesn't, it's going to lose just on network effect alone. So anyone buying into it, you're wasting your money. Sorry to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think you both nailed it. First of all, the network effects piece, Dan, I think you're right. Like at this point, we're at the point where network effects is enough, even if something better than Bitcoin comes along. It's the sort of the TCP/IP internet analogy, right? It's like TCP/IP is a protocol layer that underpins the entire internet. Well, you can make a better protocol. You're going to rip out all the infrastructure in the entire world built upon TCP/IP to replace it with your new protocol. That's going to be challenging. And if at some point it becomes clear that that's happening, I could just buy the new thing. So I agree that the network effects piece of Bitcoin we're far enough along where it becomes its own inertia. There's like a principle that has a name for that. I forget what it's called. But the fact that it has existed for so long, and every day that it continues to exist, makes it more likely that it will continue to be the winner in the future. But Forrest, I appreciate what you said, because I don't know that much about Caspa, and I think you nailed the criticism. You're like rebutted the points pretty well. But the thing, anytime anybody comes along with one of these, this is better than Bitcoin thing, the question you have to ask is, how does your thing solve the blockchain scalability trilemma, like you mentioned, Forrest? Because this is a well-known problem. You can't have speed, but you can't have scalability, decentralization, and security. And the scalability piece essentially means transaction speed. They're always going to argue that it's faster, therefore it scales better. And what they won't say is, to make it faster, you by definition are compromising on the decentralization and or the security in some way, shape, or form. No one has successfully solved that problem to be able to do all three. They're claiming they can do all three. So your question to that has to be, well, how are they doing all three? I don't know the answer. I know they say that they have an answer, but the point is that Caspa's like $3 billion market cap or something. I just looked it up. It's like that's 0.1 or 0.2% of Bitcoin, right? So what you have to understand is it hasn't been tested at all. So if they say, oh, the decentralization has been solved, well, not at any length of time or any scale. So if it scales to a $2 trillion market cap, will I still be able to run a node in a way that makes it decentralized enough such that no one can control the network? Probably not. And even though they think right now that that's true, they have no proof. There's not a long enough track record for them to prove or know for sure that it's true. They're just hoping that this new technology thing they built will play out. So I know we got to go out, so I'll stop there. But
Yeah. I'll just say that's the big problem, right? The trilemma is not solved by them because people just assume, oh, it's like people that get into Caspa, they have basic understanding of Bitcoin. Then they say, oh, this thing is better than Bitcoin. That's how it works. It's not decentralized. You cannot run an archival node of Caspa. I just said that they do 10 transactions a second. This thing is massive. To run an archival node of it, you're gonna need like be a data warehouse. Like the only ones that can do it is like AWS. Really, it just doesn't really make sense to. You can't. So you have to run a prune node. If you run a prune node, you're trusting the other node that you're running a prune node from to give you the proper blockchain for the entire history of that blockchain. Yeah, you verify it through, but I mean, all these things can just be hacked around, and there can be all sorts of funny business going on if you're just running prune nodes, because you have to, again, trust a lot of the information that you're getting if you're running a prune node. With Bitcoin, it's so hard to change Bitcoin because there's been so much importance on the decentralized part of it, and you can still run a Bitcoin node with an old laptop. I mean, it's pretty amazing. A full archival node. You cannot do that with any of these other ones.
Yeah, it usually comes down to the ship corners don't quite understand what the actual point is, and one of them is you have to make it so that regular people can run nodes. That's the only way it actually stays decentralized. It's the ETH bros all over again. Oh, you can run an ETH node. Well, not really. Like not in any practicality. Could tens of thousands of people around the world do that? And B, the same thing with the ETH people. Oh no. Well, it's ultrasound money because now it's deflationary, and so it's less inflationary than Bitcoin. They don't understand that the fact that you changed it to make that the case is the problem.
Yes.
Not the fact, not whatever you changed it to is better. You changed it, period. So you can't promise us that you won't change it again.
Yeah. I heard a really good analogy once from Rajat. He was like, I created this new form of oxygen. It's called oxygen. It's like oxygen, but it absorbs into your bloodstream twice as fast. And so like all you have to do is live in this box that I created, and like you have to give up oxygen, but you can start breathing oxygen, which absorbs twice as fast. You just have to live in this box that I created. And you have to give up oxygen, but it's twice as fast. So it's
there's always a compromise, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, the network effects piece, just like another like really basic analogy that I like. I'll stop after this. Is like the English language. So you'd be like, well, I created a better version of the English language. Everybody should use it. It's better. All the words make more sense. They're easier to spell. Okay. Good luck getting the whole world to use your version. Like,
they tried that Esperanto.
I know. It didn't work.
Doesn't have much of a network effect. Do you guys have time for one last question?
Yeah.
We good for that? Okay. Silver Stud asks, can BTC software ever be changed to create more than 21 million Bitcoin? And do you take profits on your Bitcoin? I take profits when I swap my dollars into Bitcoin. That is me taking profits. And then I'll let someone else answer the Bitcoin software question. I don't want to hog the mic.
Yeah. So this is actually really fascinating question. And I could do like a short answer yes or a short answer no, because the answer is a little bit more complex. But realistically, from a practical standpoint, there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. That is practically impossible. However, if everyone in the world decided all at the same time that they were going to change the amount of Bitcoin, change the way that mining works, if everyone in the world agreed, yes, but just no one, that's impossible to happen. Try getting 100 people to agree on. I mean, even look at this call of 5 like diehard Bitcoiners, and we can't even agree on whether Bitcoin treasury companies are a good idea and to what extent.
I think that's just you, Dan.
Well, 20% of us. So from all practical purposes, no. Absolutely not. It will never be able to get 21 million. If you wanted to, you could create your own version of Bitcoin. You can fork it and create as many Bitcoin as you want. You can create 42 million, you can create 100 million, but nobody would ever use it. The way I like to think about it is imagine making your own physical currency, right? Take a piece of paper and a printer and create a dollar bill, but with your face on it, and call it silver stud dollars or 100 silver stud dollars, whatever. You can do that. No one is going to accept it as valuable. In the same way that you can create your own fork of Bitcoin, create more Bitcoin, but at that point, it's not even really Bitcoin in the first place. So practical purposes, no. The answer is a little bit more complex, but it's just not something that I worry about, or I think anybody in Bitcoin worries about that's been in it for more than a few months.
Is it backed by silver though? It might be better than dollars though.
Then you gotta trust Silver Stud though.
Yeah. Somebody tell me if you think I'm getting this wrong, but Dan, obviously you got it right. What you said is right. And the thing that I think people mostly don't understand about it is you could technically change Bitcoin to increase the supply cap. But what that doesn't mean is the Bitcoin that exists today, they change the code and everything stays the same, and you keep running the same Bitcoin. Any change like that necessitates a hard fork. So I burned my English language analogy, so I'll use a different one, which is, I think I stole this from Jack Mahler's. Which is chess. Yes, you can change the rules of chess, but that doesn't change the game of chess that everyone's playing today. You copy chess, and now you have chess 2, and it has different rules. And you now have to convince the whole world to play chess 2. So you can change the 21 million supply cap of Bitcoin. You don't change just the Bitcoin that I own today and the protocol that I run today. You've hard forked it and created 2 versions of Bitcoin. So now you have to convince everybody in the world that your version with more than 21 million is the real version. And like Dan said, they're not all going to go along with you. So if they don't go along with you, your version dies a slow death like BSV or Bcash. And the regular Bitcoin that's 21 million hard cap keeps on chugging. So technically you can change it. But again, whether you're copying the rules of chess and making chess 2 and saying, well, I changed the rules of chess. You just have chess 2 and nobody's going to play with you.
Well put. Yeah. Josh or Ralph, you guys have anything else to add on this before we go?
And I was just gonna say for the second part of the question is that I wouldn't sell my US dollars for Colombian dollar or the Dominican peso or the Haitian dollar or anything. So I know I am not gonna take profit on my Bitcoin for the US dollar. So that's that.
Yeah, I mean, I think just choosing to upgrade my life with Bitcoin at whatever point I decide to is taking profits, but I'm not gonna switch over to dollars to hold, just to purchase.
Yeah, nice, well put. All right, guys. So I'm going to be taking a break from the weekly live streams. It'll be on one of your guys' things. I'm taking paternity leave. I'm getting evicted from my office. New tenant coming in here. Going to be living in this nursery here.
Congratulations. That's so awesome.
Appreciate it. One of you guys will end up streaming it, I think, Wednesdays, 5 p.m. I don't know. We'll see. Otherwise, I'll be back in a few weeks, but definitely go check out these guys' channels. Josh from WorkSafe Bitcoin on YouTube, Dan at Through the Cracks Productions, Ralph from Nurse Hodl, John from My Favorite Thing About Bitcoin, and Gen Z BTC at Applebee's. All right. We'll see you guys. And thanks for coming by, everyone.
See you later.